Hey, Tactical 40K, just got done with the workout, as you can see, but I wanted to talk to you about this Dark Angels release. There's been a lot of videos about the doing a preview on the Codex that's already been leaked. Some people have it early. I've ordered mine. I don't get mine for another couple weeks, but we know what some of the stats are, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that. And granted, I specialize more. Right now, I've been building my Raven Guard army. Still doing that. Excuse me. This thing over here making all kinds of noise now that I'm on. Every time I'm on here, this thing makes a bunch of noise. Anyway, we're still building that. I have it almost complete, but I'm tweaking part of that list before we go try it out. After my 1500 point orc game, I've been tweaking my Raven Guard list a little bit, but we are Dark Angels have always had a spot in my heart because they're my first army, so we're getting into them. And we're also going to run some of the Terminators in our Raven Guard list, but in a unique manner, kind of more thematic, all Lightning Claws all the time, and then another unit that's going to use the Blade Driven Deep. But I'll get into that in another video. Anyway, let's get into this Dark Angels deal. Now, the Inner Circle models look awesome. Now, are they worth it? I don't know, because those ones are going to kind of be determined by the points. But they look cool for like either a Justiciar, Kit Bash, or just a kind of a Blade Guard vet deal. But they'll have their own separate rules. But with the rules have been leaked without the invol, it's kind of tough to choose them unless they're like points wise are significantly less than a Blade Guard or get some kind of special rule. I don't know. But really, what I wanted to talk about, which what I've seen from all the people that have been playing this list or the new Codex right now, the guys that get special access to it, which I always hate so far in 10th, everybody that gets special access to a Codex, they destroy the army when they're playing, or at least Space Marines anyway. These other lists, Codex seem to have really strong areas where people, when they do their little proxy games or their games with the new Codex, they do pretty well. With the Space Marines, it seems like every time it's like they just throw these, I don't know if they're, and I can't say that. I was going to say, I don't know if they're trying to use all the new rules or what, and a lot of times they don't. And sometimes I've seen them forget some of the stuff, even though they got the book right there. But anyway, they throw the armies up and they get slaughtered. And in one particular, the Deathwing Knights, and that's kind of where I'm leading into, the Deathwing Knights have gotten nerfed a little bit, in my opinion. If you believe the points that are in the back of the book, 290 points for a 5-man unit. Granted, we are waiting for the data slate and the field moratorium to hopefully correct that, but there's no way. I mean, the cool models, but there's no way you're going to throw them because they also got nerfed when their weapons. The maces used to be that you got strength 6, -1 AP, damage 3. They took it back to damage 2. And that's actually, it doesn't sound like much, but that's a significant hit because, one, you think about all the times you're in combat, which I have, it's like there's been a number of times where, yeah, having a damage 3 would be nice. If you're going to get a hit through instead of just the 2 damage, yeah, those are good against normal Marines, maybe some, well, not even Terminator Marines, because these aren't they 3 wounds? So, I mean, it becomes very specious when you look into the numbers, when you reduce the damage there by that 1, because you're taking that mace, you're, instead of the power sword, which they have, which is 6-2-1, this is a 6-1, or used to be 6-1-3, now it's a 6-1-2, and now you got to really think, and it has knocked the power level down of the Knights significantly. It doesn't sound like much, but when you do the math, really damage 3 to a damage 2, especially depending on what enemy you're going against, it matters. It matters significantly. They should have, that profile is almost perfect. My ideal balanced melee profile is 6-2-2. It's just a good profile. So if you're going to have a 2 damage weapon, they should at least bump the AP up on that mace. If you're going to keep the AP down, then you bump the damage up, or you keep it. It was pretty nice 6-1-3. And you think about it too, there's so many ways to get around that 1 AP that I've seen. Like, if let's say you're going into another Marine unit, okay, Armor Contempt. Now let's say you did that on a Terminator squad. Now they're saving on 2s, damage 2. It doesn't look very good for the Knights, to be totally honest, unless they're just priced not right. But not only did they do that to the Knights with that weapon, they went ahead and reduced the amount that you can field. They took the 10-man squad where you could field, which if they were going to nerf them like this with some of their weapons, at least they could have kept the 10-man bricks. Now they reduced it where you can't take more than 5. And I don't know what it was with GW, if for some reason they heard this hype and everybody talking about the Blade Driven Deep, maybe, that we can put 10 Deathwings up there in the center of the board and then, wreak havoc or pretty much build a house there. Yeah, they can't be destroyed. But anyway, they nerfed them there, so now max you can wield in a 2,000 point game is 15. So you can't, and they can't be together in a single unit. So we're at that point there with the Knights. So to me, at this point, if we're looking at it from a tactical perspective, it all revolves around how much it costs to wield these guys, because they're still good, don't get me wrong. They're still, especially with some of the stratagems in some of the detachments, and in particular their Inner Circle detachment and the Vanguard detachment, being able to place them in certain areas of the board early, either Vanguard detachment pre-game, before the first turn, or in their Inner Circle detachment, the Deathwing detachment, the deep strike first turn. Now, granted, are you going to use Deathwing Knights for these two things? I don't know. Some people will, but it gives you options, toolbox. Use a few tools in the toolbox on that. So that's where I'm at on the Knights. Now, the Terminators, this is the other thing. The Terminator squad that they have, now their Terminators have a little bit, they have the modifier rule that they used to have that they nerfed from the Terminators when they came out the Codex, ignore modifiers. That's cool. It all comes down to points with them as well. The other thing they took away from the Terminators is the Command Squad, which Command Squad was pretty unique. It was pretty cool because you had an Apothecary there and a Champion or whatever, but the Apothecary being able to resurrect, that's pretty awesome. And the other thing that's really biting, it really hurts me, that I feel like, because I was going to build a Dark Angels army, is the Strike Master. People have mentioned this, but they haven't really got into. The Strike Master was relatively cheap. He was also, you can equip him with some good stuff, and he gave the squad lethal hits, which is pretty good. He's like the lieutenant of the Terminators, and the Dark Angels had him, and he is gone. I wish that they would do something about that, but I guess on the other side of things, when I failed to mention, go back to the Death Knights, Terminators. They could, like they did with the Custodians, change the squad size through errata or whatever, their little balanced data sheet and all that jazz. They could change that event like they did with the Custodians, but I don't know, coming out. Hopefully they do, because it seems like they are nerfed quite a bit. But anyway, so you have the regular Terminators, and they got kind of nerfed because of some of this stuff that you can't attach to them anymore. Strike Master, you can't wield the Command Squad. And if you go to the Raven Wing now, the Talon Master, which is also something I was very interested in, coming from 9th. Granted, they kind of nerfed it already when they went to 10th. In 9th, it was a beast. And I didn't even play 9th, but I was watching some of the stuff. It just, in the rules, seemed pretty cool. They could have really done something with the Talon Master. They really could have, and really drove, because right now Raven Wing doesn't have that much. Really got Samuel, and then you have these bikes that suck, or relatively, I guess mobility wise they're okay, but there's really nothing on the bikes that gets me really going, that brings to 10th edition what you really need. Besides, mobility is one thing, but there's not that much there. Where if you would incorporate that with that speeder type thing with a Talon Master, or a redone Talon Master, or some unique unit that's based off of that, and like the Dark Shroud and some other things like in that nature, gave them some really cool, maybe cool rules and keep it kind of balanced. But they could have really pushed the Raven Wing part of this. But right now, I don't know. It was very uneventful. Like if we go look just at the Necrons, the release. Granted, I'd say these Space Marine releases are a little unique because they can still use other Space Marine detachments. So really, I understand not giving them a bunch of stuff, but maybe a little bit, and knocking the Lion down, knocking the Lion sweeps down in a damage at the same points right now. Hopefully they reduce him. It sounds ludicrous to me. And if you compare him to Roberto, I'm kind of leaning Roberto at this point, and that's kind of sad. But anyway, if we keep going and through to the other thing, last final thought. So if you look at these other releases like Necrons, granted that's a whole codex, and you're not talking about being able to utilize other Xenos codexes. You know, when that thing came out, there were some really beefy detachments. I mean, real beefy detachments. That Canoptic Court and a couple others, they were overpowered in my opinion, but it was something to get Necron players excited. The Dark Angels releases the exact opposite. It's like, oh, I want to play Dark Angels. Like, well, luckily I got a soft spot, but if you're somebody else, you're like, oh, look at these stats. Cool. You can put Strike Masters in here with this, and you can get lethal hits. You can do this. You can run a 10 brick at Knights. Oh, cool. They're going to come out with the Inner Circle. We can do that. We can put Deathwing in, Deathwing keyword on, like, oh, wait. They're nerfing all this stuff. 290 point Deathwing Knights. Only 5-minute squads. I mean, there's all kinds of crazy stuff going on. So hopefully we get them full moratorium. When the codex release, hopefully this January balance data sheet comes out. It might come out by the time I release this video. But anyway, we are also, I'm going to show you, like you're talking about my Raven Guard list. We're doing a cool conversion of Terminators into Assault Terminators. And then another unit that we're using for our Blade Driven Deep that I'll talk about later. But our conversion should look pretty sweet because I'm either going to use some of my Assault Terminators from the Dark Angels, or not Assault Terminators, regular Terminators to Kitbash, or I'm going to go acquire some. I'll probably go acquire some other Terminators and Kitbash them with some of these claws that I got. Anyway, I'll talk to you later. Peace.